It's certainly been a year, hasn't it? A year that saw the release of some of the most anticipated and well-regarded games in the medium's history. You got superheroes, you got horny D&D, you got a twink crucifying little seed guys. Games which I have yet to finish personally, they are definitely on my backlog. This was also a year marked by mass layoffs. In total, several thousand game industry employees were laid off in 2023. Based on a survey conducted in October 2023 by the GDC, approximately 7% of people in the industry were laid off in total. Taking a broader view, about 1/3 of employees were impacted in some way at all, including having colleagues laid off and seeing layoffs hit other teams in the same company. The layoffs hitting QA particularly hard, a part of game development often dismissed and disregarded and, just treated as disposable. And 2024 isn't looking any better, it's looking, worse. As of recording, 6,100 people have been laid off this year alone. This has significant ramifications, not just for the people affected, but the medium in its entirety, as it not only forces out developers, often forcing them out of the industry entirely, it also prevents the accrual of institutional knowledge. So not only does this hurt the people laid off, it also actively hurts the medium itself. There's also the added issue of reduced jobs overall, meaning displaced workers have less options if they want to stick in the game industry. Seemingly, the COVID bubble popped. While being one of the few industries to grow during the pandemic, many companies took advantage and expanded. Now we have, quote, returned to normal, despite COVID still going around. Companies that expanded now can't sustain themselves under more regular economic conditions. Although it's hard for me to see the layoffs as anything but ghoulish when executive compensation is as excessive as it is. I point this all out not to depress you, but to remind you of the struggles of the human beings who made the things you love. And hey, maybe sports aren't labor laws and unions. Anyway, on to the individual games I wanted to talk about. 6 games because I'm hoping this video won't be too late. We'll see how well that goes. The Making of Karateka. Karateka is a 1983 Apple II game made by Jordan Mechner, a name that if you do know, you probably know from the Prince of Persia, a game that would, spawn a long-running Ubisoft series and an okay Disney movie. The game itself is admittedly pretty sluggish by today's standards, but what is really remarkable in this particular package is in how it's presented. The Making of Karateka, in addition to containing emulations of the various versions of Karateka as well as a remaster, it is also a documentary detailing the making, publishing, and reception of the game. In addition to talking heads, there are also several documents, journals, and emulated prototypes, arranged to tell the story of Karateka's development. From Jordan Mechner's first attempt at getting a game published, all the way through Karateka's development, refinement, ports, marketing, and its unfinished follow-up. It is a fascinating document of that era of PC gaming, back when a single hobbyist could make a game on their own and get it published. It also talks about how people felt about the game at the time. The talking heads emphasize how novel a game with some degree of narrative was for a lot of people. You are a karateka coming to beat up bad guys and save the princess. The single most cliche trope in video game writing. This was an era where most video games that came before were abstractions of some kind, either of sports or some other activity. There weren't really, defined characters or, a capital P plot. If there was a reason for what you were doing, it might be put in the manual, but there were no opening text crawls or really any need for a player to have any idea to the why of what they were doing. Now, it's not that Karateka was the first video game with a narrative. Not only because, depending on how you define narrative, something like Missile Command arguably has one, it's not like a character in a plot, but at the very least explores the anxiety over a potential nuclear crisis from design alone. Sure, it doesn't have a discrete narrative structure, it doesn't have beginning, middle, and end, but you can't tell me that don't got meaning. But beyond that, as Ralph Koster points out, there are plenty of text-based games with much more traditional storytelling.
The big swings at storytelling. We did, right? Some of the stuff that was happening in the Infocom games in plain text was huge, just really big swings. But they weren't graphical, they weren't visual, right? And I think what Karateka really brought to the table was sort of filmic language in a bunch of ways. The shot framing, the crawl, scene setup.
It is a game inexorably influenced by the language of film. It is an interactive kung fu movie at its core. It has cutscenes evoking emotion and contextualizing your karate fantasy. The characters all move with rotoscope animation. It cuts away from the player not only to show you more of the bad guy's machination, but to show you the next enemy's approach. It feels like a very rudimentary prototype of what Sony does nowadays, using motion capture in pursuit of a prestige television aesthetic to make an interactive HBO drama in essence that can then get sold to HBO. And this package is a fantastic historical journey that contextualizes the game's production and the era it was made in. It's a fascinating peek into game history, and I will be keeping an eye on what Digital Eclipse does next. Storyteller, a charming literary puzzle game where you put characters and scenes together in a way that fulfills a title within a set amount of panels. Based around a series of classic literary tropes like, say, poisoning spouses, detectives catching criminals, werewolves and vampires, stuff like that. As a specific example, take the title Heartbreak for Everyone, where you need to break everyone's heart either through romantic rejection or through the death of their partner. Some puzzles also have additional conditions. Like there's one where you reunite lovers heartbroken over the death of their partners, but now you gotta do it with ghosts. And with the updates, you can also now revisit some puzzles with the devil. You know, from Bible. I don't really have much to say beyond that it's thoroughly charming. Like, there's a puzzle where you get Nietzsche to kill God. What's not to love? Sonic Frontiers. Out of all the games I'm talking about in this video, this is by far the most flawed. The animation ranges from decent to passable. The Guardian boss fights, while having phenomenal boss music, was a more frustrating experience for me. But beyond all that, its most significant issue is a very noticeable draw distance, which is especially a problem given this game's open world design. Like, Breath of the Wild was a true technical marvel in this regard in a way that Sonic just isn't. But despite all this, I still had a good time with the game. Part of this is that despite its flaws, most of the game is fun. Running around this big island collecting stuff is fun. Collecting stuff to unlock conversations with the characters was fun. The regular platforming stages were fun. Stages, neat. Like, yeah, it's no Breath of the Wild, but what is? I've also been getting more into Sonic in general, mainly because of Snapcube stuff, honestly. What can I say, your enthusiasm can be infectious.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, sorry, just turned into Beepo the Clown for a second.
I started reading the IDW Sonic comics. Pretty good stuff. Fun and tense arcs, interesting characters. I would die for Whisper. I saw the Sonic movies. They're fine. The first one is fairly average kids fare, nothing too spectacular, but fine. Perfectly fun. Perfectly serviceable. The second one is a marked improvement, a lot of fun, even if the Sonic is not my favorite interpretation of the character. I saw the Netflix cartoon. It's helmed by the Ben 10 guys and it shows. It's a very competently made kids action show. It's a perfectly fine watch that probably won't surprise you in any meaningful way. I also played the April Fool's visual novel, which in addition to just being like pretty fun, it also ended up being a perfect encapsulation of the charms of these characters. He's dead. You know what, let's say that game shares the slot. It's really good. In contrast to all of that, Sonic Frontier stands out with how messy it is. It is a game about talking cartoon animals that starts off with an unusually melancholy tone. That's what I call attitude! I mean, I mostly enjoyed it, but that's weird, right? But isn't that the biggest appeal of Sonic? Yeah, it can get weird, it can be bizarre, and it is often easy to make fun of, very easy, but it is undeniably creative and unique. As flawed as Sonic Frontiers can be, it gave me such a unique experience that I can't help but appreciate it. Also, I'm realizing that this is the only game on this list from 2022, so the name's kind of meaningless. Oh well. Octopath Traveler II. So back when it originally came out, I did actually play through a bit of the original Octopath Traveler and enjoyed my time with it, but unfortunately my Switch got water damaged, my save was lost, and I did not feel like replaying the first several hours of this rather slow-paced game. Like, I'll probably play it again at some point, but I have a billion games to play. But then I heard Octopath Traveler 2 was coming out, and that was even better. Octopath Traveler 2 is a game that captures the essence of old school RPGs, think Final Fantasy and Live a Live specifically. The gimmick that gives this game its name is an extension of Live a Live's main gimmick. I mean, Acquire also did the Live a Live remake in between Octopaths. In Live a Live, you go through 8 RPG stories, seemingly disconnected and in vastly different time periods before unlocking the final chapter that ties it all together, and you kill God. I think, I'll admit, I never actually ended up finishing it on my own because its sense of humor ended up bouncing off me quite severely, but I do get why people revere it so much. It is really a novel cult classic. Octopath Traveler does its own spin on that particular formula. There are 8 travelers, each with their own stories and motivations, each one joining your party until you have all 8. But each character's story can feel disconnected until the final chapter, even if the other characters are technically there, off screen somewhere. It's as if all but one party member stops existing outside of battle. There are elements that attempt to make the characters interact more than Live a Live or even the original Octopath Traveler. There's the travel banter, small skits where other party members comment on the currently unfolding story. There's also unlockable short stories focusing on 4 pairs of characters, but it does feel odd at times if you think about there being at least 3 more people around during some of the plot beats. But hey, one of the biggest appeals of this game are those characters. I started out with Cassie, an amnesiac apothecary, helping out who she can as she seeks out clues to who she was before. She also has some of the more intense lines in battle.
Might, no mercy, only pain.
There's also Prnce, a young boy from mining town who sets out to make his mark as a merchant. He is this thoroughly charming southern hospitality type that I just couldn't get enough of. Also fights a train at one point. You can't suplex this one though. Another thing I enjoyed was the combat. The basic system is this: you build up BP, then you can use that BP to boost any of your moves, making attacks stronger, making buffs and nerfs last longer, stuff like that. You can then mix that with each character's latent abilities, character-specific abilities, and character classes. It ends up as quite an engaging system with plenty of moving parts to keep an eye on. In the individual battles, you need to figure out how to best spend BP and when. In the macro sense, you need to manage your party composition and build a good team that can just melt people. Like all good RPGs, it's a system that not only rewards mastery, but also gives you a sense of satisfaction on what you've built your characters into. Overall, it's the type of game that captures the nostalgic memory of the old RPGs as opposed to how they actually were, but it also managed to make something truly unique all on its own. What can I say, I've not loved an RPG as much as this in a very long time. Also, I want Veronica to punch me in the face.
Now then, this won't want to miss this. Lion dance.
I failed you.
Dredge. It is easy to fear the sea. Most of the planet is covered in the stuff, just unimaginably vast stretches of empty blue with an unknown depth below its surface. Not only is it just inhospitable to humans in general, but you have no real idea what goes on underneath the surface. I mean, giant squids were real, I think, I'll Google that. What other massive thing might be hiding underneath the waves? But also, fishing can be pretty relaxing, right? Just sitting somewhere, taking it slow, letting nature wash over you as you wait for a bite. Dredge explores both of these feelings. You are a fisherman with a humble fishing boat. You go out into the vast sea to fish something up that you can sell for money, which you can use to upgrade your boat to catch more types of fish, or catch fish passively even, or to hold more things in your boat. But be careful, for evil things come out in the night. Dredge takes particular inspiration from Lovecraft. Small, isolated towns beset by unimaginable horrors. Just, with less of Lovecraft's racism. Lovecraft is interesting in just how his influence has evolved. Like, his stories are inevitably reflective of his worldview, you can't really untangle them from the racism, but it's been like 100 years, and like all stories, these ones have evolved in the public consciousness. There are people who can understand the anxiety of being akin to an ant to beings far more vast than they can comprehend. They can relate to the fear of what they don't understand, even if they don't personally relate to the fear of poor breeding in specific. So while the original stories are inexorably tied to his bigotry, the legacy of those stories is not necessarily tied to it in the same way. Authors shape the story they tell, but an audience shapes how it is remembered. While Lovecraft was an author who popularized the style posthumously, he doesn't own it, and with him being dead, it can evolve outside of what he would have wanted. Alright, enough rambling. If you want more Lovecraft thoughts, just watch the H-Bomb video. Dredge is a prime example of that reinterpretation, the fears of the unknown world of the sea, the beasts unimaginably vast that think of you as no different from any other animal they would prey on. Perhaps one can think of it as what people saw in Lovecraft as opposed to what was actually in the stories. Although truth be told, Dredge isn't particularly scary. A certain encounter might startle you the first time, but the vast majority of the dangerous stuff can be avoided with some thought and care. In a strange way, Dredge honestly works as just a relaxing fishing game. Like, yeah, avoid the sea serpent that could swallow your boat in a single bite, but have fun fishing and moving along with the main quest. Just good fishing fun with an eldritch twist. Slay the Princess. You are a nondescript hero walking to a cabin in the woods. An omniscient narrator gives you the directive to slay the princess trapped there. Apparently her escaping spells the end of the world, even if exactly how that happens is a mystery with the narrator cagey on the details. But to be fair, there is something off about this princess. The basic elevator pitch for Slay the Princess is the Stanley Parable meets Eldritch and existential horror, where the Stanley Parable use the concept of narrative choice as a means of exploring video game narrative in a very reads game academia type of way. Slay the Princess uses the same sprawling choices as an expression of an incomprehensible and ever-shifting space and a complex relationship with the titular princess. Every choice shifts the world in a myriad of directions, some schmaltzy, some horrific, some mind-bending, some femdommy, all told with an impressive amount of illustrations and voice acting. It is a game that you just can't help asking questions about. Who am I? Who is the princess? Who is the narrator? Why are they separate from the rest of the voices in your head? What is the nature of this world? Is there a way out of this for me? Why is she chained up? Why can the princess vary so much? I don't want to explain too much because, well, exploring those questions is kind of the point, isn't it? I'm just here to give my recommendation. It's a tale of identity, love, hate, and a relationship that exists beyond it all.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's all the video games I want to talk about. Video over. Oh yeah, also the Ghost Trick re-release came out last year. Pretty good. If you like Date's Attorney, play it, or maybe just play it anyway. It is really good. Don't want to spoil much, but like, you play as a ghost, they're tricks, it's fun.